Joining us now, Congressman James Walkinshaw, Democrat of Virginia and member of the House Homeland Security and Oversight Committees. It's good to see you, Congressman. So Markwayne Mullin is pointing fingers at Democrats for the negative shutdown impact. What would you say to him?
Yeah, look, I think the situation was pretty simple. If Republicans needed votes from Democrats like me on funding for the Department of Homeland Security, especially ICE and CBP, then they needed to listen to our common sense requests for the reforms that the American people want, to end the masking, to have real use of force standards, to professionalize ICE and CBP. They weren't willing to do that because probably one guy, Stephen Miller, in the White House wasn't willing to compromise. So from my perspective, this was a Republican shutdown. If they needed a vote from me to fund these agencies, then they got to listen to the reasonable requests that I had.
Your party did hold out demanding changes to immigration enforcement after that series of deadly encounters, raids sweeping up tens of thousands of people. So the question now is, where does this go? Because listening to some Republicans, they've won. Now they're just going to get this piece of it done. What's the Democratic message and strategy?
Well, one, I don't know that Republicans won because after months of refusing to do so, this week they caved and accepted the deal that Democrats put on the table months ago to say fund the rest of DHS, leave out ICE and CBP. They're now going to proceed and try to give more money to ICE and CBP on top of the $140 billion they have from the health care cuts in the big, beautiful bill through the reconciliation process. They're going to have a tough time procedurally doing that. They're going to have a tough time in terms of keeping unanimity, which is really what they're going to need from their own members in both the House and Senate to get that across the finish line. It remains to be seen whether they can do it. We're going to keep fighting for the reforms to protect the American people. And if we have to take that fight to the ballot box in November, given that the reforms we're asking for are overwhelmingly supported by the American people, we'll take it to the ballot box in November.
Which brings me to this. Congress is already out the door on recess, and this is day 60 since the start of the war. President Trump and team say law that says he's got to get him out does not apply. Some Republican senators are suggesting they'll just wait until everyone returns on May 11th to even consider taking any action. So what's the plan from your party? Can anything be done any sooner?
Well, I think you'll see Democrats continue to force votes on war powers resolutions as we have, and highlight the fact that our Republican colleagues are actively diminishing the authority of the very bodies in which they serve. The War Powers Act is clear. We've crossed the 60-day threshold today. The president now has 30 days to withdraw forces from the hostilities and from the region. There isn't a pause on that 60 or 30-day clock in the law because we're in the middle of a ceasefire or cessation and hostilities. The clock runs and the law is clear. For Congress to enforce it, we got to use our power of the purse and say that we're not going to send another dime to this war until the president follows the law. That has been my position. I hope some Republicans will start to join us in that.
I also want to ask you about the Epstein investigation because you were in the room for a closed-door interview with Ghislaine Maxwell's ex-boyfriend, Ted Waite. Did you learn anything new, anything useful?
We really didn't learn much from Mr. Waite in the transcribed interview yesterday. He was, as you noted, Ghislaine Maxwell's boyfriend for a number of years, including during a time when Maxwell was involved in committing crimes with Epstein. Waite professes to have heard no evil and saw no evil, to have known nothing about the crimes that his girlfriend at the time was engaged in. He repeatedly could not recall key conversations and key details. In his defense, we were asking about things that did take place decades ago. We didn't get any new information from him, but we do have a series of consequential depositions coming up in the coming weeks that I think will advance our investigation.
Well, let me ask you about one of them, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, next week, May 6th. What do you think you might get from him?
Well, I think it's pretty simple with Secretary Lutnick. Why did he lie to the American people? He was asked a point-blank question in an interview, had he ever visited Jeffrey Epstein's island? After telling a quite a tale about how he was so turned off by Epstein that he told his wife he never wanted to see Epstein again. We learned later that he, in fact, did go to Epstein's Island and had lunch on Epstein's Island. He flat out lied to the American people. Why did he lie? And if he lied about that basic fact of going to the island, what else has he lied about with respect to his relationship with Epstein? I think it's pretty simple with him. Those are some of the questions we need to get answers for.
And we'll be watching. Congressman James Walkinshaw, thank you.